Good morning, welcome back to Plymouth and welcome back to the coast path. We've just left the Barbican and the aquarium behind us now, which is where we left the walk last time. Back in, I don't know, was that May possibly? It's certainly been a lot longer than I was imagining it would be before we came back to the path, but you know, the years just sort of flown by really. I had my anniversary. We went on holiday, our first foreign holiday since before COVID, so that was really nice. After that, I went away with my dad like we do every year, went to the air show. And then also another thing that stopped me coming out this year so far has been the weather really. We've had such a miserable summer, and I think, as I said on my last trip away, one of the advantages of doing the walk in stages is I can pick when I want to come out, and I do walk in the rain obviously, but I'd rather come out when the sun's out, and today is one of those days. So just got the day pack on today. We're just going from Plymouth to Wembury today. It's a bit of a filler day. It's only a short sort of 11-mile day. I'm trying to get this bit done and out of the way in preparation for the bank holiday weekend, where I'm hoping to come away, have a couple of days back on the path, and that will involve crossing the River Erm. Now the tide times aren't ideal, so I wanted to make sure this bit was done and out of the way. That would give me the best chance of being able to wade across the Erm when I get to that in a couple of weeks' time. So today's walk, like I said, only a short one. It's about 11.5 miles. It's going to be fairly flat most of the way. A lot of it's walking along roads and pavements. It's quite industrial. We're walking through one of those bits now. There's going to be some busy roads to walk along, but it's an area that's familiar to me. Plymouth is where I grew up, and I've also got my lovely retro Plymouth Argyle shirt on to mark the occasion. But anyway, I'm going to enjoy today because this is where I'm from. So even though a lot of people don't like it, and a lot of people get the ferry from the Barbican across to Mount Batten and skip a lot of what we're doing today, for me it was important and also something I've been looking forward to. So yeah, let's get going and see what it's like. It's quite good through this industrial bit here at Catdown, because normally in these built up areas is where us coastal walkers lose our bearings. It's easy when the sea's on your right, you can't really go far wrong, but you get to the built up areas and you soon lose the signs and end up going the wrong way. But it's one thing for this part anyway, it certainly is got really good signage, so yeah, give them some credit for that. And a lot of the signs actually are more than just an acorn or a finger post. There's been some quite interesting different signs on this section. Well, in fact, since we got to Plymouth from Cremel, some of the signs that we've seen have been quite interesting, and I know there's some further on later today that are a bit different as well, even if they're not totally accurate. But we'll get to that later, and yeah, I'll explain a bit more when we find them. So all along this wall here beside me are poems. And in the guidebook, the Paddy Dillon guidebook, it says that this is a very busy road section, but the poem wall provides a bit of a distraction. Now, it's not much of a distraction. You're still very well aware that you're on a very busy road. Anyway, up ahead of us now, we've got a Morrison's and a McDonald's, and actually, just around the corner is where I used to live. And this here is the reason we've just had to walk across that busy road section. So we've had to sort of come up an estuary, and now we're going to go back down the other side. And that's pretty much what today's walk is about. It's a lot of estuaries in and out, until we get back out onto the sea at around Mount Batten. And then at Mount Batten, it's up on the Jenny Cliff. It's pretty much the only sort of climb we've got for today. It's pretty flat. And then from Jenny Cliff, it's on high cliff walking through some woodland to Bovisand and then on to Wembury. God, look at that over there. It's like a multi-storey car park for boats. I've never seen anything like that. They obviously take security pretty seriously, so we'll move on. Not a particularly good advert for the waterways of Plymouth, but that sign back there, it's a very topical sort of debate at the moment. There's a lot of awareness being raised around the problem with sewage discharge into our rivers, streams and into the oceans. And you know, in an area that relies heavily on tourism, and the sea is a big attraction for that, these are real issues that need to be looked at and addressed. And anyway, I'm not clever enough, or I don't have enough information to make much of a judgment or a statement on it, but it is scary when you see signs like that, and very sad as well. So hopefully we've left some of the more industrial parts of the walk behind us now today, back at Catdown. And then we've come across Lara Bridge over to Plymstock, and now we're in more of a residential area, I suppose, called Areston. We're heading on now through Areston and on to, I think it's Radford Park. We've just walked across the dam back at Radford Park. So on one side of the dam you had Radford Lake, and on the other side of the dam you had Who Lake. Now Who Lake is tidal, and that's what we're walking parallel to now. And there's just loads of skeletal remains of all the hulls of old boats here. So it's like a boat graveyard. I don't know what the rule is or what the laws are around these sort of things, but it seems to be that people have just come here over the years and dumped these pretty large boats and just left them here to rot. Anyway, we're carrying on now. I think the next place we're going to come to is, I think, Who, and then after Who, up to Turnchapel. So I'm just on the outskirts of Radford Park, and I really like it here because when I lived down this way, this is somewhere me and Monty would come often and walk. There's a nice walk you can do around the park and through the woodland here. Yeah, and it's a shame, you know, I sort of feels weird being here without him, and I was tempted to bring him today, but you know, he's really good off his lead, but when he's on the lead, and a lot of today's walk would have been on the lead, he's so slow. He likes to sniff everything and eat everything. Yeah, and I was a bit concerned I wouldn't get the mileage in. So anyway, he's not with me, but I'll give him a big cuddle when I get in anyway. And yeah, maybe he'll watch my video later as well.
I know it's nothing new, but it's so good to see you. We do this every day, and I'm still so amazed by you. So hold me tight through the night. It's just us two.
Right, I'm at the opposite end of Who Lake now, and behind me there is the dam which separates Who Lake from Radford Lake. So we're carrying on this way on towards Turnchapel. Okay, so when you come out of Turnchapel, you climb up the hill, and then you normally come down this way for the footpath, but the well, it looks as though it's been closed for quite some time, but last time I was over here anyway, which was many years ago, yeah, that was the way you went for the coast path down to Mount Batten. But now I have to backtrack ever so slightly back to this car park, and just ahead of me there is a road. If I take a right there, that will take me down into Mount Batten, back onto the coast path. Right, on the road now, heading down into Mount Batten, and yeah, that sign back there sort of spoiled my, well, one of my few facts and interesting bits of knowledge for today's walk, and that was that Lawrence of Arabia was actually based here when there was a flying boat squadron based here down at Mount Batten. Yeah, anyway, Lawrence of Arabia was based here until he was discharged. But anyway, there was a plaque back there when we came out of Turnchapel, and I thought the plaque would probably explain it better than I just did. So yeah, I took a little shot of it up there. But yeah, I would have given you that bit of information as we got into Mount Batten, which is coming up ahead of us now. Got myself back onto the coast path now after that small diversion. These are some of the old hangars from when there was the flying boat squadron based here. And then just show you across the water there, that was where we were walking this morning, up on the cliff there straight ahead of us. That is where there was the large St. Christopher plaque built into the face of the cliff. I've been walking now for nearly 2.5 hours, and yeah, it doesn't look like I've gone very far, but we've had to go in and out of a couple of estuaries that way. So that's the ferry that you can catch if you want to skip out all of what we've done today. You catch that over on the Barbican. I think I pointed that out to you on the last video when we walked past it, which is directly opposite us there. But you know, I've enjoyed my walk this morning. There's quite a lot of history. Yeah, it's not the most pretty of sections, and I suppose it depends where your day starts and ends, but if you've got the inclination, yeah, that part I thought was, you know, quite an enjoyable walk this morning. But we're heading on this way now over towards the breakwater here at Mount Batten, and then we turn back on ourselves and head up towards Jenny Cliff. We've just climbed from the breakwater down at the Mount Batten up to Mount Batten Tower behind me there, and it actually looks as though it's open to the public today, and I don't think I've ever noticed it being open before, so I'm going to go over there and have a look now, see if I can get in and have a look around, and then yeah, carry on down off the top of this hill. Sorry, out of breath. First hill of the day. Yeah, carry on back down off the top of this hill, and then on towards Jenny Cliff.
Yeah, we still don't know where you went. Where did you go? I just heard something. Yeah, where was it?
Never mind, forget that. It's cash only, and I haven't got any cash on me today, so yeah, never mind. I want to come back though and go in there because I've never been in there. I didn't know it was an option, but I'll come back another day and have a look around. So just coming back off Mount Batten now and heading up the hill there to Jenny Cliff. I believe that's one of the few climbs we've got for today, so it's very easy walking today. Once we're up there, we should be treated with some nice views back across Plymouth Sound towards Cornwall, Mount Edgecombe, and back towards Drake's Island. Right, so this is Jenny Cliff. This is quite a popular place for families and picnics, and there's a little cafe there behind me, and there is a beach down some steps here, but over the years intermittently it's been shut because of erosion on the cliff, and the access down's been blocked. So I think the sign there is saying it is still closed at the moment, but anyway, we don't need to go that way. We're going this way, heading up another bit of a hill, and yeah, 5 miles I think now, the sign back there said, until Wembury. So I think I'm just about halfway, maybe slightly over halfway. And I remember earlier where I said there were some signs that, even though they're interesting and different, they're not necessarily very accurate. Well, this is the one I was talking about. So that one there says 175.5 miles to Poole, and on this side Admiral's Hard 10 miles, which is back down towards the Royal William Yard and where the Cremwell ferry docks. But yeah, anyway, that sign isn't accurate, so when you get here, don't be fooled into thinking you're nearly there, because you're not. I don't know why it's inaccurate. Is it because Portland has been added to the coast path route since that sign was put up? I'm not really sure, but anyway, yeah, don't be fooled. There's a sign back there for an alternative path, and that's because this little bit I'm on now, straight after Jenny Cliff, historically has also suffered from landslides, and I think it's become a little bit uneven, a bit up and down, but you know, not everyone's cup of tea. So there is an alternative route just up there on the road, going parallel to where I am now, and I think it just meets up with this path a bit further on. since leaving Jenny Cliff, the coast path's been quite pleasant. It's been all up on the top of the cliff here, walking through a little bit of woodland, but it's just the views have just opened up now back over the sound, and I wanted to stop here and just point out back here somewhere, I don't know where I'm pointing, but that's the mouth of the River Tamar. And recently I was reading about a new walk that's been created and opened, and it follows the Tamar. So you can actually now theoretically walk around the entire county of Cornwall, following obviously the southwest coast path for the majority of it, and then this new trail that's been opened along the Devon-Cornwall border. And it got me thinking about what my next adventure is going to be. What am I going to do when I get to the end? Whether that's this year or next year, but yeah, eventually that is going to come. And is it going to be this trail, or maybe the Devon coast to coast along the Two Moors Way, or maybe something else, the West Highland Way? I quite fancy doing that one. Anyway, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's something I've been thinking about recently, because even though I've still got a fair way to go, certainly further than the 175 miles that sign earlier said I've got, you know, the end is coming now, and it's quite sad. So I definitely want to make sure that when I get to the end I know what I'm going to do. One thing I think I know is I don't think I'm going to continue on the coast. I don't think I'm going to turn this into a life's work and do the whole of the England coast path. You know, that certainly would take probably the rest of my life. So anyway, I think that's beyond me. But maybe some of the smaller national trails, yeah, I'll have a think about. And yeah, you'll have to let me know what you think I should do, and whether you'd be interested in watching any videos I do on those. You know, if not, I will just put the camera down and enjoy the walk still. But if you still want to follow me along in whatever it is I do next, then yeah, let me know and maybe make some suggestions. So that's looking back across to Rame Head, the headland in the far distance, and up on the top there you can just make out the chapel there, St Michael's Chapel at the top, and then different view there of the breakwater, and then over to Mount Edgecombe and Kreml, where we got the ferry across the Royal William Yard. Right, so we've come through Bovisand now, and then this part here of Bovisand is actually a private residential area, but the coast path does come through here, and the public are allowed here, and there's a pay and display car park, but it's a selection of sort of chalets, I suppose. Very nice. You're right here on the seafront. Yeah, so we just stopped actually and had a cup of tea at the cafe back there. It's quite nice just to sit down, even though it's been an easy walk today. I haven't really stopped, so to sit down and have a cup of tea, yeah, that was quite nice. But yeah, anyway, carrying on now. We're gonna come down around the headland here in front of me, and the next thing we're gonna come to is Haybrook Bay. So as you come into this sort of area with all the chalets and the bungalows, there is a public toilet just by the cafe, and then as you walk through the park, towards the end of where the bungalows are, just behind me there actually, there is another public toilet block. So yeah, just pointing that out because it's always useful to know where the amenities are if you're on the path for a few days. So that island there behind me, that is the Mewstone, or the Great Mewstone, off Wembury. So, you know, just inland from there, that is where we're going to be finishing today. But I wanted to point out the island to you because there is a story, a true story, and I can't quite remember the exact details, but I believe there was a man that was found guilty of smuggling, I believe, and he managed to strike up a deal, I think this is right, where he would serve his sentence on the island out there behind me. And he went out there, I think he went there with his family, and then when his sentence had been served, or his time had been served, he came back to the mainland. But his daughter, who was grown up at this point, decided to stay there, and she lived on the island voluntarily, and she married and her husband stayed out there. And then I think her husband died, I think he fell and died out there anyway. And then yeah, she stayed out there, but it was quite a sad story. I think they used to do boat trips over to the island when they lived there. I think that's how they made money. I think the husband would sail back to the shore and then, you know, row back over to the island and show people around. But you can't go out there anymore. It's privately owned, and it's a reserve now for the wildlife and for the birds. That's the dream. I'd love to buy a Fiat Ducato and convert it into a camper van, but yeah, it would certainly make doing this sort of trip a lot simpler, having a base at the end of each day. Right, so that was Haybrook Bay. Not much there. I think there is a pub there, but I didn't pass it on the coast path there, but I'm pretty sure there is a pub somewhere at Haybrook Bay. But that's our penultimate stop. The final destination is coming up, which is Wembury. Now, I don't know if you remember, but about a year ago, this time of the year, I was all geared up and all prepared and all trained to take on the Macmillan Jurassic Coast Mighty Hike. And unfortunately, 2 days before the event, the Queen passed away and the event was cancelled. So in the end, it was, you know, it was fine, because I went and had a few days away on the coast, did some more filming, you know, so it was all still fine, and I was able to defer my spot in the walk until this year. So I've known about it, you know, I've known it's been happening, and I think it's the 9th or 10th of September. I think it's the 9th, and I best check. And anyway, it's all of a sudden, it seems to have crept up on me. So I knew I needed some new walking trainers, because the ones I've worn on the coast path this whole time have been fantastic, but they are no longer keeping my feet dry, and you know, my socks are filthy at the end of the day. There's gaps in them and they're falling apart. But I was really happy with what I've had. So what I've been wearing are Merrell Moabs Gore-Tex, and they're walking trainers rather than walking boots. You know, I fully appreciate the benefit of a walking boot for the ankle support, etc. But when I'm walking the longer distances, I find it's a bit heavy, and I liked the lightness of the trainer. So anyway, I ordered myself the exact same pair. And they arrived a few days ago. Now, it dawned on me that this mega hike that I'm going to be doing, this 26 miles along the Jurassic Coast, is only, well, it's less than 4 weeks away now. I think it's 4 weeks this weekend. So I thought I'd best get some training in, or else it's going to kick my butt when I get there. So anyway, I've come out today. I think I said earlier, you know, I needed to get this bit done to try and help me get the crossing sorted. So I've got today away. My plan is next weekend to come back, fingers crossed, come back down to Wembury and then walk on to the hopefully time it right so I can cross the and then on to Bigbury. That'll probably be where I finish that little trip. And then the bank holiday weekend, I'm hoping to come back again and maybe have 2 or 3 days away on that weekend. Start again at Bigbury, and then if all goes well, hopefully I might make it as far as Brixham, which, you know, is back on my home patch then. You know, I live Newton Abbot, so not too far from Torbay. So yeah, if I can get as far as Brixham, well, that's great. You know, it means over the next few months, if I want to in the winter, I can easily do some day walks. But anyway, that's the plan. We'll see how we get on, because these things always end up changing. Right, okay, so there's an information sign here about the Great Mewstone and about the inhabitants of the island, and I got it a bit wrong earlier. I sort of muddled up a few different stories and got my timelines a bit wrong, but if you want to pause for more information, there is the history that I was trying to recall earlier, and there's a picture of the house where they lived. So that there's the entrance to the River Yelm, and then all of that on that side is what we'll be doing next time, out around that headland and then on eventually towards the River and Bigbury. Now, those of you that have followed me along from the very beginning will remember from one of the very early videos, I think it was, yeah, Lynmouth to Combe Martin. Was it Lynmouth to Combe Martin? Yeah, I think so. Anyway, when I was leaving Lynmouth, I saw the statue which marks the end of the Devon Coast to Coast, or the Two Moors Way. And I said back then that that point, you know, was a point that I would get to in the future once I've completed that walk. And it's funny because I've just left Wembury Beach and there's a sign down there which marks the start of the route. So yeah, I've sort of like done the end, done the beginning. I've just got to do the 120 miles or so that's in the middle. Anyway, that's a walk for another time. But yeah, that was nice to see down there. Anyway, yeah, it's definitely a walk that I will do in the future. Right, so that's us now at Wembury Car Park, and that's where we're going to end the walk. As I said earlier, I aim to come back, hopefully next weekend, back to this spot, and then we're going to walk further along the coast path and try and catch the ferry from, I think there's Warren Point here, just beyond Wembury, over to Newton Ferris and Lost Mayo. But anyway, yeah, until then, thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you will give Plymouth a try next time you're out on the coast. And yeah, I will see you next time. Thanks guys, bye.